Man, I hate you for the dream car question. I gotta tell you, that's a terrible thing to do to somebody. I'm gonna be driving home later, and like someone will drive by in a vehicle, and I'll be like, oh, I should have said that. I'm Judson Price. I'm assistant principal and CTAE director at Troup High School. So I'm from kind of Interstate 85. Moved around a lot growing up. I was born in Atlanta. I was actually adopted as an infant, and just moved around a bunch for different reasons. Did some in kind of the suburbs of Atlanta. Grew up around kind of DeKalb, Gwinnett County. Lived in Grantville, Georgia for a while. And then at some point in the late 90s, moved down to Beulah, Alabama on the backwaters just outside of Valley. And that's where I graduated high school and stuck around there for a bit and stayed around locally. Went to Southern Union in Opelika and did my kind of undergrad and my first graduate degree at LaGrange College. And so kind of stayed anchored down here for, the last 20 years, so something like that, right on. Oh man. So when you interview the rest of the staff, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of really great answers to this one about, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. I absolutely was laser focused on it, went into it. That's not me. I kind of got into it by accident. I started teaching when I was 27, and I was 27 when I started even thinking about teaching. I went to school for history, did my undergrad in history, and went from there to seminary. Thought I was going to be a preacher, and then dropped out of seminary, which is the thing I have in common with Joseph Stalin. And after that, just kind of worked with some churches around Opelika and Beulah for a number of years. And 2008 kind of happened. The economy, if you recall, was not doing well. And I had a friend that called me up and said, hey, I'm going back to school to do a master's in teaching. You want to look into it? And genuinely, I don't have anything else going on. So I did. And accidentally got into education and absolutely couldn't see myself doing anything else. So it was an accident, but a really happy one. I'm going to give you a few. So I've got like a book that's my favorite book that's kind of like if you're flipping the channels and Shawshank Redemption's on, you can watch it even though you've seen it a million times. So there's a book called Midshipman Easy by a guy named Frederick Merrier, and almost literally nobody's ever read this book. It wasn't a big deal then. It's not a big deal now. It's not important in literary history. I just like it. It's about a nobleman's son that goes into the English Navy in the 1800s and has all of his dumb ideas beaten out of him by reality for a number of years. And the characters are super charming. And I've read it, a dozen times, and I guarantee I'll read it again. But that's a really strange one. It's kind of like you say your favorite, and then you're going to have to explain yourself, so you don't really answer it with your favorite. If it's like books that normal people have ever seen, there's an author named Clive Cussler that writes like airport novels and the kind of books that you buy if you're about to spend some time on a bus and you need some mindless entertainment. It's not like you're never going to teach them in a lit class, but I really like the books. And then if I have a book that like I want to sound smart and I'd enjoy reading it, I do like Hemingway. But if I'm honest, I would only answer that if I wanted to impress the people listening to my answer and sound somewhat cogent and intelligent. Free time's really not like my thing. So just getting into administration this year, and then I've got 3 kids and the oldest one is 5. So like free time's not really what I do. When I had free time, I'm not great at relaxing. My wife makes fun of me a great deal because I'm not capable of it. I do like to fish. I enjoy projects around the house. For a lot of my life, I've had like some really, I don't want to say crappy cars because I love them, but they were cars who needed attention, and I did enjoy working on those. I'm just not in a seasonal life where there's a lot of free time going on, but I find just about any way to keep busy. I can find joy in most anything I'm doing, which helps to keep me sane. So my answer in my younger days would have been probably like a Ferrari F40. I think for like its bare bones, it's only meant to go fast. It's supposed to be a driver's car. I think it's beautiful, and it has a gated shifter, which is that's one of my reasons I think a car can be art is a gated shifter. So yeah, that. But as I've gotten older and I have kids and maybe things to live for, the thought of going backwards and upside down at 170 miles an hour into a tree, I find less appealing than I did in my younger days. And I also know that I'm not a good enough driver to not do that. So, man, I don't know. What a terrible, heartless question. Aston Martin DB5, and I already hate myself. It's a flawless car to look at. So even when it breaks, it's still sitting in my garage. So if I get in a really bad mood, I can just go sit there and look at it, and I will feel better. So I'll go with that, and I'll hate myself later because I deep down have a better answer, and I don't know what it is. All right, so everything and nothing. And what I would mean by that is I'm not a determinist, which just means like I don't look. We've all got agency. We've got free will. Things have happened in the past that happen again, but we're not fated to do any of that. Like we're not doomed to suffer the mistakes of the past, and we're also not guaranteed to suffer the successes of the past. And so you think of the terrors of the last 100 years. We're not doomed to repeat those. We're fully capable of it. I mean, as a species, I don't think we've evolved any in 100 years. I don't think we're meaningfully smarter. I've always challenged students, when they're talking about something terrible in class, and you're, maybe you're watching old battles where people just are lined up marching at each other, waiting to get shot, and a student, it's like, well, I wouldn't dare do that. No one they did not know, right? Every one of them wanted to live just as much as we do, but circumstance and conformity and all that pushed them to do that. I don't think that I'm any smarter than that. I wouldn't be the one person in line saying, hey guys, this feels really dumb. All right. Like I'm blessed to have been born when I was, and there are a lot of mistakes I don't have to make. I hope in 200 years, they're looking back at us now and saying, man, they were idiots. And maybe they will be, and maybe they won't. We're not doomed to be better or worse. It's completely up to us. I think maybe the smart quote, and I don't know who said it, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. That's kind of the way that I think about it, is you do see a lot of the same stuff happening over and over and over, and we deal with it in different ways, but we're not doomed to repeat it. So my what is young people in general and their potential. We see students, and you look at what they're capable of. And one of my favorite things to be able to do, it's like I'm a fortune teller, is I can see people and know they're capable of things that 17, 16-year-old them doesn't know they're capable of yet. And being inspired by what they could do. Same thing like my history answer. They could also mess all of that up and choose not to do it. But you'll see them, and you'll see moments where, like, man, they've either got it together way more than I did, which is not tough, or they're just so much smart. Like, maybe not smarter in that I know more words than they do, and I've been smart for longer, but just like on an IQ scale or something, you get senses, man, they're really bright. So their potential, I think, is super inspiring. As far as like the who, though, it's wife and kids, man. And that's an easy answer. It's one of those, like, I'm always busy. I've always been that way, but I'm not like, I'm not a climb the ladder type of person. I'm good to like do one thing really well and camp out there. And part of even getting into this job, the ambition to all right, let me go back and I'll do another degree and I'll explore moving on to the next level in the field, was prompted by you want to do better for them. You want to, and that's part of it. It's not all of it, but it was part of it. like you want to make sure that you give them the best future they can. Like you see your kids and it's like you're super hopeful because you see, like my son's already asking me science questions that I don't know the answer to. And like I have to fake it and Google it and come back with answers. And he's 5. And it's like, man, this kid is really bright. Thank goodness he got it from mom because science was not my thing. But then it's also like terrifying because so much of their future rests on you and like you're not ready for that responsibility. I don't think any parent ever was, but like you're constantly driven by that. So maybe it's inspired, but it's also like, and this counts as an inspiration. It's that voice in the back of your head, like, you better not mess this up, man. And so you want to do the best you can. You want to be the best person you can. You want to leave them the best world that you can. And that, as far as what gets you out of bed in the morning and makes you put forth your best effort, that's got to be it for me. Yeah.